Hey guys, what is going on? Roost here, and welcome back to another tier list video. Now, I believe the last one I did was based upon, various deck archetypes. This time, I'm going to swing it in a completely different direction, regardless of not if it's still a popular thing to do. And we are going to be judging the various castle skins found inside the game. Now, with that being said, giving a fair warning here that the list may not be as detailed, or, as my archetype list. I had a lot going in terms of prep work, but with the castles, there's only so much that I can judge them on. So, with that, it's not going to be, again, as a detailed list, just because I don't have a lot of information to kind of put down. But with that being said, I think we can jump right into it and judge our first castle skins. So, let's get started. Alright, so our first one is going to be the Warlock Academy skin. Now, I believe this one was a pre-order bonus for the Warlock Academy, if I remember correctly. I might not, by the way. Some of these, I do remember where their origin was. Others are a bit foggy. So if you do know the origin of these castle skins, be sure to help me out in the comment section below. Would greatly appreciate it. But with that being said, we're going to start off with the Academy skin. Now, honestly, this one was okay. I didn't think it was that great. I mean, it kind of it fit its purpose for the Warlock Academy. It was an academy, but I don't really think. I mean, it just looks like a tower surrounded by rocks, which isn't really. I mean, I know it's more of a wizard academy, but to me, I don't know. I never really liked the Warlock Academy. I thought it could, more could be done with it. So I'm going to throw the Warlock Academy here in our C tier to start us off. Not really a whole lot going on with it, but it's not terrible, hence why it's not in our lowest tier. But I think more could have been done to it to make it a bit more, it could help it stand out a bit more, is what I'm saying. Alright, and following that up, next up is the Airship Castle. Now, my bias is going to come in to play a little bit here. To me, I always rocked the Airship when I was using Doomship, for those of you who remember that awesome deck list that, that was still a great deck. So to me, Airship kind of still reminds me of that deck, and because of the connection I had with it, again, personal bias here, but I'm gonna throw the Airship up in the A tier. Plus, it's not really a castle per se, so it is unique in that sense where it's kind of like it's like a ship and not necessarily a castle like all the other ones here, well, except the Autumn one, because that's really a treehouse, not a castle. So I mean, technically, it's one of the two that are just unique in that sense. So for that reason, and again for the Doomship connection I had with this castle, Airship is going to stay in our A tier. Alright, next up is the aforementioned Autumn Castle. Now, again, I did say how Airship was, its uniqueness for not really being a castle per se, helped put it in the A tier for me. However, with the Autumn Castle, it's not that I don't feel the same way. I just think it's not as impressive as an Airship per se. So I mean, it's still good. It's still a unique concept of not really a castle, but instead a tree house, and it fits the autumn or fall season. But personally, for me, I think it's a decent castle at best. I'm not, you really just have this little blue roof to kind of mark the difference, whereas you could tell visible differences in the everything else, or maybe except the Princess Castle, with different colors and whatnot. And to me, it's like it's a decent castle. I'm not gonna put it in the C tier. Well, actually, we're talking about it, I'm gonna throw it in the B tier. It's a decent castle. I don't feel the same way about it as I do the Airship, so hence why it's slightly lower. But I wouldn't say it's a bad castle at all. Again, fits the fall season. Not really a castle. Again, like I keep mentioning here, it's more like a tree house. So, again, more of a unique feel, rather than having like a standard castle or a Warlock Academy castle. It's not really a castle per se, and so for that reason, the Autumn Treehouse, I should say, is going to rank in our B tier. And next up is the Cathedral Castle. Now, I believe, in terms of when this existed, I believe it came as a purchase. You were allowed to purchase this castle at one point for like a certain amount of silver. Same with the Airship, by the way. I forgot to mention its origins as I'm going along here. I said I would mention all their origins, and I'm already forgetting two of them. Autumn Treehouse was, I believe, a season reward. If you reach a certain rank, you got the castle skin. But anyway, Cathedral, as I mentioned, purchasable in the shop when it first debuted, and it meant, it marked sort of like a pattern, with the airship and with the couple other castles you'll see here. They were meant to represent certain factions. So Airship was meant to represent pirates, Cathedral meant to represent the Crusaders, so on and so forth. But in terms of design, I thought it was pretty decent. Honestly, it didn't differentiate too much from a or ordinary castle skin, except for maybe the little bells on top and the little yellow outlines to mark it to be more of the Crusader theme. But for me, I think it's a B tier at best. Honestly, it didn't stand out too much aside from a regular castle. It doesn't really mark itself as any different from a regular castle, except for, like I said, this little bell feature. So, I think certainly more could have been put into it, but I don't think it's a bad castle at all, per se. I think, again, maybe you could have tweaked it a little bit more to fit the Crusader theme, but again, certainly not a bad castle at all. For that reason, it will remain in our B tier. Alright, and next up is Cobra Mountain. Now, I believe this was a pre-order bonus for Arcanon War, if I remember correctly. I might be off on that, but I think this was the bonus for Arcanon War. You pre-order the 50 packs, and you would have gotten the castle skin to use. So with that being said, our Cobra Mountain definitely a cool castle skin. It kind of was the second time we saw like an animal incorporation into a castle. However, unlike the Dragon Roost Castle, which we'll get into next, this one was sort of like just carved into it. It was kind of like the building shape was the cobra itself. But personally, I didn't really feel like it made any sense considering we never saw any sort of cobra-based stuff in Arcanon War. But again, still a cool castle design. I liked it a lot. It was definitely cool at the time. For that reason, I'm going to put it up in our A tier. Definitely a really interesting design here. And again, the shading on it is slightly different than the regular blue stuff here. So give it a bit more of a different feel, which I like. The little flames threading here at the bottom. Again, another cool feature. So yeah, that will be our Cobra Castle. Again, you kind of see what I mean here, where I can't really throw a whole lot into the judging. It's sort of based on, looks and maybe personal opinion. I don't really have a lot to throw in here in terms of reasoning, but I'm gonna try and I'm trying to do my best here, folks. I really am. So, Cobra Mountain, really cool design, giving it an A tier, and let's move on to our next castle. Alright, and next up is the aforementioned Dragon Roost Castle. Now, honestly, for me, this is an instant architectural achievement in the S tier. It was a pre-order bonus for when you pre-ordered for Age of Dragons, and this castle was actually the main reason for me that I wanted to pre-order Age of Dragons in the first place. It was such a cool design, and, just having a dragon surrounding the castle like this was just, oh, fantastic. And I mean, look at the detail on the dragon, too. It's not, again, with castles, it's not really, a whole lot, but essentially the dragon is just surrounding this skinny ass tower. So essentially, like 50% of the castle is just the dragon itself here, and to me that was just, I loved it so much. So personally, again, a bit of bias here, or a bit of bias influencing this decision, but honestly, the Dragon Roost Castle for me just stands out to be an S tier because it's such an amazing castle, just visually to look at, and I mean, what more can you ask for in a castle like that? So with that being said, the Dragon Roost Castle is going to be our first deck to sit in our S tier, the Architectural Achievements. Alright, next up we have the Ice Castle. Now, this was I believe, another season reward where you reach a certain rank before the end of the month, and you would have gotten your castle skin. So, sort of an interesting debut there. It was kind of I think a couple of these castles came with that same premise. But anyway, the Ice Castle. Honestly, being a good comic book fan myself here, the first thing I thought of when I saw the Ice Castle was Fortress of Solitude from Superman, honestly. And to me, that was just a really cool thing to have. In terms of design, it's alright. I mean, you got like this giant ice pillar coming out, a bunch of ice spikes all over the place here. Personally, I think I'm going to put it in the A tier. I think it's a really cool design, of course, going along with Cobra Mountain here. And again, being the comic book fan that I am here, it kind of reminds me of that, good old DC Fortress of Solitude. So, I do enjoy me some DC references. So with that being said, Ice Castle going to be another contender for our A tier category. Alright, and next up is the Legendary Castle Skin. Now, to me, the Legendary Castle Skin is actually going to rank up here on our Architectural Achievements, our S tier. And I'm not saying that just because, I want you guys to get some motivation to reach rank 30. I'm just putting it here because it is a genuinely awesome castle design. You're having a Colosseum as your castle, surrounded by these golden statues, gives off the idea that you've conquered, you've triumphed all the battles presented to you to get to rank 30 in the first place. So, kind of like an ultimate achievement, if you will, based upon your journey to get to rank 30, because it is quite a journey, let me tell you. I know for some players, others, it varies here, but again, the idea is still the same here. We all go on this journey to get to rank 30, and I think the Legendary Castle Skin is one that truly, symbolizes that journey through the Colosseum, through the golden statues, through the triumph, and all that. So, with that being said, the Legendary Castle Skin is going to rank up here in our architectural achievements. Alright, next up is the Monster Island Castle Skin. Now, of course, this one was a pre-order bonus for pre-ordering the Monster Island expansion. However, to me, honestly, I don't think the Monsters Island Castle Skin is necessarily complete. Like, okay, I'm gonna put it, if we're being honest, in the C tier for now, and I'll explain why. I mean, for what it was, the Monster Island skin was a pretty good castle skin. It fit the theme of Monsters Island with a sort of tribal island feel, kind of referencing King Kong a little bit, in my opinion. However, I really think they could have done more with the castle skin by actually putting more monsters into it, if you know what I mean. Like, it needs more of a monster-ish feel rather than just like a tribal island castle in a way. I think if they put like more like monster reference or monster like elements inside of this castle, I think it would have been a much cooler castle skin. So for that reason, it's not a bad castle like I said. So for now, Monster Island going to rank in our C tier category. Following that is the Mountain Fortress Castle skin. Of course, another purchasable castle skin. Meant to represent the Viking faction alongside of the Crusaders and the Pirates, the Airship, and the Cathedral that are currently on our tier list. But for me, I don't really think this was a great castle skin at all, personally, and I think this is our first castle skin to rank in our lowest category. And just generally because it's just a mountain with a little building sticking out of it with like a little watchtower. I honestly don't think that really encompasses how like the Vikings are, or like it doesn't represent what the Vikings, mean in this game. I don't really think it does a good job symbolizing the Viking faction, if you kind of get what I'm saying. The Ice Castle, to me, I think might be a little bit of a better step up for, representation of Vikings rather than just having the Mountain Fortress. So, to me, I think the Mountain Fortress just needs to be a better castle overall. It needs to be completely overhauled. And to me, it's going to sit in our I want a refund category, our lowest tier, because it is in fact true. I want a refund for this castle. I don't like it at all. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and move on to our next castle skin. Though let's not stay on this negative side of things. And for our next castle, it is going to be the Ninja Castle, of course. Still going alongside the Vikings Cathedral, or no, the Mountain Fortress Cathedral and Airship as purchasable castle skins. This castle skin actually came out much later than the other ones, as a fun fact, because the original castle skin design was originally too large to sell as a castle skin, because it actually covered up one of the spaces that was, that you kind of were used to play on the board. So because it actually blocked off this space, they needed to rework the castle skin to make it slightly smaller. Henceforth, the Ninja Castle we have today. And honestly, I think it's a better Ninja Castle than the one we previously had. I like its design a lot more. It fits more of the ninja style. And for that, I'm going to place it in our B tier. It's not really a bad castle, but it's not really a superb castle. I think it's, again, it fits in that middle line between good and bad. Definitely a decent build for a castle regardless. And again, I like how you have all like the bushes in the background, the little torches, the little flag, all kind of representing, a ninja castle feel. So I think they did a good job in that sense. However, I think it is going to be a solid B tier castle. Again, not a bad castle, but a pretty decent and solid castle overall. And next up, we have the Magical Princess Castle. Again, another season reward, just like the Ice Castle, currently on our list. It was, again, you reach a certain rank in a certain season, and then you would have gotten the Magical Princess Castle. Um, so, honestly, the Princess Castle, for me, again, going to be another B tier option. It's not great, but it's also not awful. I think the uniqueness of the castle comes in sort of the fact that it sparkles, it's got some glitter on it, so definitely unique in that aspect, and certainly in color too. When you look at all the other castles, like how they're blue, slightly brown, maybe a little orange on in. No, this one's just flat out pink, just thrown pink right at your face. So it's definitely unique in that aspect. Again, not a bad castle. But I think maybe, I don't know, you could have more done to this castle. I would have liked to see like someone, maybe like a princess actually sticking out of one of these windows here, like Rapunzel hair maybe. I don't know if you're going with that princess theme. I'm just saying you could have done a lot more than just putting up a pink castle with a little heart on the door. Although I do like the glitter aspect of it. Again, the only castle that's really sparkly, really glittery. So again, definitely has points for that. So again, Magical Princess Castle, a solid B tier castle. And next up, we have Santa's Workshop. Now, Santa's Workshop, again, another season reward. However, this one capitalized more on the festive holiday spirit of Christmas, as a little sort of like, I guess, because with the Workshop, it actually came out around the same time with the Merciless Santa card, so there were definitely some festive ideas going on, I believe, in regards to that. Or maybe it was Santa's Workshop sooner. I don't remember. Someone in the comments can probably correct me on that one. But the workshop itself, I think design-wise, it could have been a lot better. And actually, for once, I'm actually going to put it in our, our low tier, our F tier category per se. Even though, again, I don't hate Christmas, guys. I promise. I don't hate Christmas. I just think the workshop itself has a bit of a blander design. It's really just a house that only has a few elements to pinpoint Christmas. I think maybe if you're going for more of a workshop feel, you could have done a lot more with it rather than just having a simple house design. I know you're limited in space because it is a castle skin after all, and you really can't have this thing as too big as possible, like we said with the Ninja Castle, because if it does block space, that's actually impacting gameplay. So I think for the workshop, again, it could have been a bit better, maybe, rather than just having a house. But it is a basic design. I don't think, again, could have been much more improved on for the festive spirit. But for that reason, it is going to rank in our lowest tier, our I want a refund. And next up is our Skull Castle. Again, another season reward, just like Santa's Workshop, Princess, and Ice Castle. However, this one I think instead of if I remember correctly, instead of aiming for more of the festive spirit of Christmas, like the Santa's Workshop was, this one was aimed more towards the festive side of Halloween. So definitely give you some insight there as to the thought process behind the Skull Castle. However, to me personally, I think this is going to be it's not a bad castle. I'm not putting it in our F tier, but I am putting it in our C tier because instead of being a castle, this one came out to be more of a skull mound. I think if you design it in more of a way that fits a castle shape, like the Princess Castle or the Cathedral, you would have totally had an A tier castle skin right there. However, with the mound, you just have like a mush of skulls with like a little lamppost sticking out of it. And I think that you could have had a lot more work done on it to make it more of a castle design and to put it more in like that A tier contention. So for that reason, Skull Castle going to hang out in our C tier for now. Could have been better. I'm not thinking it's a bad castle skin though. Not in our F tier by far. I just think you could have made it maybe more into like a actual castle, and then it would have been a much better design. And following that is of course the good old standard castle skin. And honestly, B tier. It's decent. It's like it just screams default. In which, if of course it is, it's a standard castle. But it's not bad. It's not super good either. It's definitely a solid B tier contender. I don't think anyone's gonna have a problem personally with that. Because I mean, well, maybe not. Now that I say this, it's gonna be like just to spite me. Some of you are gonna put it in like S tier. I could already see it. But yeah, castle skin. No, well, standard castle skin could have probably done some more with it to. Well, no. You know what? I don't know what I'm saying here. B tier because it's the standard, it's the default, it's right in the middle there. B tier. So standard castle, I think looks pretty good in B. I don't know what I was gonna ramble off on, but no, standard castle, B tier. That's where it is. And next up is the Steampunk Castle. Now, quite different from all the other ones here. Steampunk Castle was actually a bonus for actually purchasing cards and castles on Steam. Downloading them for free on Steam would have gotten you the Steampunk Castle as sort of like the exclusive perk for signing up with Steam. And to me, I think it was a decent reward. However, I do think it belongs in the C tier mainly because it emanates more of a factory feel than a steampunk feel. I would like to see more steampunk incorporated into this rather than just looking more like a factory. It is okay. I'm not denying it as a bad skin. I just think, again, you could have maybe transformed it into more of like a steampunk-ish feel. Like how the Skull Castle really could have been more of like a castle. I think Steampunk could have added more elements into it that could have given it more of a steampunk feel. So for that reason, it is going to sit in our C tier category as of now. And next up is our Warlock Castle. Again, sort of like how the other factions. This is the one we haven't touched yet for Warlocks. And honestly, again, decent castle skin. I'm not gonna lie here. It was, I think this was originally the app icon for our game before the Warrior was. So a little bit of history for you there. But honestly, the Warlock Castle, not a bad skin, but I don't think it crosses over into A tier just yet. So it is gonna be in our B tier. It's still a solid castle option. Again, more of like the eerie, demon-esque for Warlock feel. I think it's a really good job in capturing that. So for now, Warlock Castle is going to sit in our B tier category. Again, solid choice. I like the little face here you got going on here too. Just sort of like a interesting little imp that's just kind of like expressionless. So Warlock Castle, again, good castle skin. Going to give it a solid B tier. And finally, we have our Windmill Hut. This is honestly the first castle skin that differentiated from the standard castle skin back in the day. So sort of like a sentimental place. I think for what it is, it's a great little castle skin. You know, you got the propellers moving here. It's a simple design. I just liked how this windmill came out. So to me, I think this was an A tier A tier castle skin. Hello. Just overall the simplistic design of it, the little moving propellers, sort of like a new. It kind of marked the era of, you know, like, oh hey, we now have castle skins, and this was a great way to kick it off. Sort of a simple, basic design, having a fun little element in like the moving windmill propellers, and I think that honestly was a great way to start off this like castle skin era. So, and of course you were able to get it off of, before I forget the origin of this, you were able to get it off of a code in the Cards and Castles sort of code option. It's only if you have Steam now, but yeah, sort of like a it was the first sort of castle skin to emerge, which if you use a certain code, you would have gotten it along with some packs. So honestly, pretty interesting choice. Well, not interesting, pretty solid choice there, putting it in sort of like the start off of the castle skins. So good start, solid A tier castle skin. And with that being said, folks, that is the final list for castle skins as seen on your screen here. This is my thoughts in regards to all of the castle skins. And of course, as a cheap plug here, you can have your chance for any of the castle skins here, except for the legendary and standard castle skins, by using code RedMaster in your Cards and Castles code area. If you have Steam, go ahead, go to options, enter code, type in code RedMaster, and you have a chance to maybe collect one of these castle skins if you are missing, except for, of course, legendary and the standard. You have a chance of grabbing any one of these castle skins for yourself as well if you haven't used the code already. A little cheap plug there. But with that being said, folks, if you enjoyed the video, be sure to give it a like, share, friends, and of course, comment down below your thoughts on the tier list. Also, linked down below is the link to this tier list, so if you want to change anything, if you want to rearrange it, send me some pics of that on Discord or Twitter or whatnot. You can go ahead and show me your castle tier list. I'm interested to see if you guys have the same opinions, what's different. Maybe if you have a different idea but don't want to go ahead and make a whole tier list, leave comments down below as well. If you want to agree or disagree with my list, tell me why. Again, in that comment section down below. And while you're done there, if you haven't done so already, be sure to hit that subscribe button as well. Sure, you support the channel by clicking the subscribe button at no cost to you. And with that being said, that's going to do it for me for now. So, until next time, stay gaming.